You may well ask, why would anybody want to put a late model Chevrolet V8 engine in a 20-year-old BMW sedan? Well, I can think of 2 or 3 reasons. One is, I already have the car, I love the car, it just has transmission. Number 2, the dealer wanted about $3,200 just to put a new factory rebuilt automatic transmission back in it. I can buy, and did buy, a whole engine and transmission with less than 20,000 miles for in the neighborhood of $2,000. Now by the time I'm all done, yes, I'll have more than $3,200, but I'll also have a complete new engine and transmission. And the third reason is, well, it's just a challenge. It's just the fun of doing something, making something, seeing if something can be done that no one's done exactly in the same way before. So those are the main reasons for doing it. Yeah, I've got the side of my brain that adds up my checkbook, the left side. The rational part says, oh, well, it's a good investment. You're taking a car that wouldn't be worth anything otherwise and you're putting it back on the road. And that's all true. But the real reason is, I just want to see if I can do it. And I think it'll be a whole lot of fun to drive when we put 300 horsepower in where about 180 used to be. So those are the main reasons. So several things that are good about this. We've got a nice broad expanse here between the frame rails, about 27 inches. The air conditioning unit compressor originally set over there. That's where it is on the LH6 engine, so that should be a fairly easy hookup. Here's the big problem right here. This big old clunky recirculating ball worm injector gearbox sitting right here where the driver's side exhaust manifold wants to be. So no nice rack and pinion hidden down here along the cross member. We got this thing to deal with. So that may require some sort of custom header. I'll show you one other possibility that we're exploring, but the fellow that I've gotten acquainted with in California who's working on the 6 Series says he tried this solution and it didn't work. I'll share that with you in just a minute. Otherwise, lengthwise, we've got plenty of room. We're going to have maybe some tunnel issues with part of the transmission. The oil pan on the transmission over on that side may require a little surgery on the tunnel. Otherwise, this is fairly open, including, if you can see up here, we have a master cylinder that doesn't have the normal large vacuum canister, because this is a hydraulic boosted master cylinder that works off the power steering pump. In any engine swap project, there's a lot of trial fitting that goes on, putting the engine back in, taking it out, trying to figure out where all the issues are with clearances and where things are going to hook up. One of the things I've done to, instead of just throwing the engine over and back out several times, I've come up with a little mock-up here. This happens to be the GTO oil pan I was talking about. So you can see that this is the front sump. Here's the space in the back where the cross member, we think, will fit quite nicely. This piece of electrical conduit that I've tacked on here with a couple of little brackets that I bolted onto the pan represents the center line of the crankshaft. So this is sort of a virtual crankshaft line. This represents the front of the crankshaft pulley. The tail end of this, back here at this end, represents the tail shaft of the transmission. So we can put this in the engine bay and see where things are and take measurements from this based on measurements we take off the engine to sort of see where things are and where some clearance issues might be before we throw the big engine over the top. Now, one of the differences is I mentioned the pan on the SUV engine on the 5.3 is sort of a front sump, but it's quite a bit thicker right here. And I think, see, with this engine bay, I'll show you that difference of thickness right here is really significant and important. And so this is probably going to be the pan that we need to use. Something to go on to get ready for that. Let me show you what this looks like inside the engine bay. What I'm going to do is put a 3/4 inch block of wood right here on top of the cross member. That will be the minimum amount I think that we'd want to have for clearance between the pan and the cross member. And then we'll take our pan with its virtual crankshaft center line and we'll put that right in here in place. And I've taken some measurements already ahead of time, and I know that this, with it sitting here at the proper angle, is approximately 4 inches above the cross member that normally holds up the radiator. I've got plenty of room here between the crankshaft pulley and the radiator. So when we look back here, we know that the back of the pan represents the back of the engine or the front of the bell housing, and so we see we've got plenty of room here. We could probably slide this back a little further, somewhere in there, and still have room before we start running into this heater valve, which is one of the clearance issues we have. So plenty of room to go back and forth front to rear, and we've got room here. Our sump fits in this space just nicely. This of course clears the steering box, but the exhaust manifold is a different issue. Well, thanks again for stopping in and checking on progress here at One Geezer's Garage as we attempt to put a 5.3 liter all aluminum Chevy V8 small block engine into a 1987 535IS BMW. Appreciate you coming by. Stop in and see us next time. Until then, take care.